Hey everybody, Ryan here at eTrailer. Today on our 2015 Hyundai Elantra, we're going to be checking out the Swagman XC2 platform style bike rack. First impressions of the rack on the back of the Elantra. Honestly, I think it's a pretty good fit. It doesn't look out of place really. There's a rise in the shank, which is the piece that actually plugs into the hitch. And so that's going to help get the rack a little bit higher up off the ground, which is important, you know, especially on a car that rides pretty low. And with this rack, it's so simple that there's not a lot to it, and so it's pretty lightweight, and that's relatively important, especially because on the Elantra, a lot of the hitches that you can get for them don't have a ton of weight capacity, and so having a little bit lighter rack could potentially give you a little more breathing room if you have a heavier bike or something along them lines. So even if not, why kind of push the limits if you don't have to? But with that said, why don't we just kind of check this thing out? So the way it's going to work is it's going to hold your bike down in 3 spots. And so you're going to have a hook here that puts pressure down onto the frame and forces the wheels into the cradles here. And so that's where all of our contact is. And it actually does a really good job. Granted, your rack is going to have movement in it, which is inevitable. Pretty much every single rack is going to do that, but you know, the bike's solid. It's moving with it. It's not moving around on its own or anything like that. So it's good to see. But the way you know, that we can get our bike off is you can do this a couple of different ways. All right, and so you'll have your hook, and when you undo this, make sure you're holding your bike. So some people like to raise this up and then just kind of sneak the bike, you know, out of it like this. Some people like to fold this part down. And then, you know, you can kind of do a mix of that, which this particular car is kind of close. What I'll probably do is take our hook off completely, and then I'll just go straight up and over this piece. But like I said, if you got a heavy bike or something, this does fold down, but we'll get to that in a moment. But this is how I like to do it. That way I don't have to risk trying to work the bike out in between the rack and the car and scratching anything or anything along those lines. I do suggest, though, if you take the hooks off, just to put them back in place. You know, that way obviously you don't lose them. But something that you need to think about whenever you add the rack to the back of your Elantra is it's going to extend the overall length of it, right? And probably shouldn't be a huge deal regardless, because somewhat compact car, pretty compact bike rack. But if you have a super small garage or something like that, you know, you might keep that in the back of your mind. But we'll just take a measurement from the trunk here to the furthest point. Looks like it's going to add about 23 inches. To the back of your Elantra. So think about that, you know. I did say that you can fold this center mass down, so I'll just show you that. If you take this pin down here and pull that out, that's how this can go down. You can do it to either side. You can drive around with it like this if you want to. Just make sure to put the pin back through there. But if it were me, and I was going to drive around with it, especially if I wasn't planning on using it for a little bit, I would fold this up. So this can actually get folded up almost like a suitcase when you're not using it. And it's the same deal. Your arms, you pull these pins, and this comes up. You might have to move your hooks up a little bit so everything will clear. But now it's, you know, pretty compact, not taking up a bunch of space, and so on. This is also really good for the off season, right? When you're done riding, you can keep it like this, take it out of the hitch, put it in the garage or in your closet, and not have to worry too much about it taking up a bunch of space. As far as being able to get into your trunk and everything, in this position, you got quite a bit of space here, and so if these are folded down too, you know, you'd have even more room because these wouldn't be sticking way out, they'd be way down here, right? So you are able to get in and out, you know, with relative ease. With a bike on, probably a different story. You know, I know when we had ours on, I tried it, wasn't close to opening. So chances are pretty good. If your bike's on it too, you won't be able to get in. So just remember to grab whatever you need out of the trunk beforehand, before you put the bike on. That way you don't have to bother taking it off to get inside of here. So moving on down here, you know, I kind of mentioned the shank that comes up. So that's what I was talking about. And this is going to work with the 1¼ by 1¼ receiver tube openings like we have here today on our Elantra. It'll also come with a piece that will allow you to use this with the larger 2" by 2" trailer hitches. So, you know, if you happen to have another vehicle at home with that size hitch, chances are really good this will probably work out with it too. It is going to come included with an anti-rattle bolt, and what this is going to do is eliminate any slop or play there in the connection point. And so it's going to help keep things a little more quiet. You're not going to hear it clunking around in the hitch. Now granted, when it's like this, you know, these arms can still move around a little bit, but something's better than nothing, right? Especially I feel like if you had 2 bikes on here and everything was secured, it'd be pretty good. But kind of give an example that, you know, you can see I'm pulling on the shank here, and it's actually moving the whole car, and the bike rack isn't, you know, slopping around in there or moving on its own. But other than that though, you know, at the end of the day, if you're looking for a bike rack that's going to be simple and lightweight and a pretty good fit for the Elantra, this is definitely one to consider. This is our test course. Let's start with the slalom. This shows side-to-side action, such as turning corners or evasive maneuvering. Then, onto our alternating speed bumps. This shows twisting action, such as hitting curbs, potholes, road debris, or even uneven pavement. Last of all, the solid speed bumps. This shows up and down action, such as driving through a parking lot or parking garage, or driving in and out of a driveway. And that'll finish up our look of the Swagman XC2 platform style bike rack on our 2015 Hyundai Elantra.